So welcome to The Bigger Picture. I am your host, Dakari. Welcome, Sia Savvy, film producer. Yes,
Yes.
filmmaker. You also are an entrepreneur. You have your own media group, Savvy Media Group. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. So excited just to chat with you, man. Great
Yes,
show.
I know. I know. Ben has told me so much about you. I've seen your work. I am really, actually, you just put together Left for Dead.
Yes,
So
I
this
did.
documentary, super needed, super necessary, very heavy, call to action. I absolutely felt when I saw the preview, it's about time. We needed this. So
Yeah.
unfortunately. So there's that. But I don't want to get into that yet. I
Okay.
want to talk about Saya. I want to talk about you as a person. First of all, you're in Cali right now, yes?
Yes, I am
All
I'm
right.
in Los Angeles.
All right. You're in LA. Now, where are you from? Are you from East Coast, South, West Coast? Where are you from?
Man, so first of all, I am originally from East Oakland, town business all day. I never let anybody misunderstand that I still represent that Oakland all day, every day. However, I live full time in Atlanta, Georgia, and
Okay.
I am in Los Angeles right now. I'm actually filming a sports doc for ESPN, producing a documentary for them. But I love LA too, so it's just, and it's been so interesting being here as so many people have, lost their homes from the LA fires. And just I try to participate as much as I can in some of these relief efforts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So you're like this humanitarian, since obviously with the documentary that you just did too. So you're very socially conscious. Beautiful, beautiful. Now you're out in LA. You're doing an ESPN documentary.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
can you give us any tidbits on what that's about?
I can't say much right now, but we're doing a documentary that's going to focus on women basketball players. And
Beautiful.
so it's a really fun project, great people, great production company. And I'm so excited to even be a part of this. And so, after a few months of filming, I might be able to, drop a few
So
spoilers and tell a little bit, but I can't just yet. But you bring me back to the show and you'll get the exclusive.
that's what's up. That's what's up. I'm gonna hold you to that now.
Yes, absolutely.
So now you're from LA.
No, from Oakland.
You're from Oakland, Oakland, which is actually right outside San Fran, which is where I was born, but it's a different
Oh, hey, Bay Area cousin.
story. But you're now in Atlanta.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. So tell me about the transition.
Oh my gosh. So my career story is kind of different than most people in the industry. Like I went to undergraduate, I did my undergrad in Chicago, and then I moved to Atlanta for graduate school, and I was in business, and I was actually in corporate America for about 12 or 13 years and just moonlighted in television and radio and things like that. I was in my late 30s,
Stop
before.
it. Hold up. Hold the phone. Hold the phone because
Mhm.
you don't look. You do not look like where you going with this age thing. But anyway, carry on.
And you know what? So it's so interesting that you say that because there's such a taboo in our industry
Yes, there.
about telling your age. It's like, people start to the ideas that you age out, but I am not ashamed, and I really hope being honest about that will
Mhm.
help other women not be afraid to change gears later in life. Because I was in my late 30s when I decided to go, stop working corporate America and go full time. I'm 46 right now. I just turned
Girl,
46.
you don't
And
look 46.
thank you. I appreciate it. And I owe a lot of it to minding my business and drinking water.
That's right.
Uh, drink water. But yeah, so I have I have an MBA in
Mhm.
finance, which has nothing to do with television. However, I do use my financial skills to make my projects financially feasible. I'll
Yeah,
say that.
yeah, with the production, absolutely, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
So when I went to Atlanta for graduate school, I really just love the city. I love the culture of the city. I love being in a place with so many people of color that,
Yes, the Mecca here in this
yeah,
country. Yeah.
And you gotta keep in mind when I went, it really was Atlanta wasn't what it is now. I mean, it was
Mhm.
really like the mecca
Yeah.
of, Black business, and they call it
Yeah.
Black corporate America for a reason. So I just stayed, you
Hmm.
know, I stayed. I was like, this is home.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, you went to school for something outside of what you do now.
Yes.
What made you transition? What made you decide that this is what you wanted to do, to start your own media group?
That is a great question. Thank you for asking it because I love talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
So I originally went to school to be a filmmaker. Like fresh out of high school, I was like, I wanted to write scripts. I wanted to make films. Like I was going to be a filmmaker or, and produce television. I wanted to, I was actually, when I thought about television, back then it was like I was going to be a newscaster. Like that, I
Mm-hmm.
was going to tell stories about, things going on in my community. And, but when I, got to college, I began to doubt myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what? The entertainment business is too flaky. It's too
Yeah.
this, it's too that. I may not be able to make enough money. I had a kid, and I had a kid at 21. So I was like, I was thinking about being a mother and a parent. And,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I could not afford
Mm-hmm.
to chase this dream. Like I
Right.
needed to be responsible. Um, and so I went in as a filmmaker, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
as a film major, excuse me, and came out with a business degree.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So when you don't know what you want to do, you go to graduate school. Like that's what graduate school's for, is to continue figuring it out. So I did. I went to business school because I had gotten a
Mm-hmm.
business bachelor's degree. Um, and I got a degree, MBA in finance because good with numbers. And so I went
Mm-hmm.
to corporate America. I was working as a corporate accountant. I worked as a financial analyst and eventually became a project manager. And I did really well,
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
able to take care of my kid and live pretty comfortably. But I always moonlighted
Yeah.
any little chance I could get to like be a PA somewhere on the weekends or,
Mm-hmm.
where I did things at the radio station, just anything I could do to do what I love, do the thing
Feed
that,
the passion.
yes, that was it. I had to feed the passion
Mm-hmm.
because if I didn't, I would sometimes feel like I was suffocated and so when my son, was graduating high school,
Mm-hmm.
he encouraged me, and I wasn't paying private school tuition anymore. But he
Makes a big
encouraged,
difference, I'm sure.
it's a huge difference, yeah. But he encouraged me really to do
Mm,
something I love and to pursue things that I loved. And
that's
I'm sure part of that was like he was ready to have his own life and I have mommy
yeah,
called
yeah, there's
today.
that part. That part. But you know what? That means you did a great job as a mom.
Thank you. I appreciate
You,
that. Ready for me to have a life so he can have his own.
that, well, yeah, that too.
Right. Um, but when that happened, I did. I took a leave of absence from my job and I began looking at and during that time I was offered an opportunity to intern.
Mm,
And for someone in their late 30s, it was like intern like that. But I was willing to do whatever it took to make this work. And so I
sure.
did.
Yeah.
And I interned for 3 months, got a full-time job after that as a field producer and never looked back.
Wow.
And
Wow. What
so one of the things I really one day want to teach a class about is one, never be afraid
mm-hmm.
to make the change.
Mm-hmm.
But also there are so many of us have skills that that we learn in corporate America or in or whatever day jobs that are transferable to this industry. And
Yeah.
so I would love to teach people how to take the skills you have and make them transferable into the passion that you want to pursue. And so that's my story.
So that's what you'll be doing. That's the next tier.
Yes, as at some point I'm gonna get around. I always say my retirement job, like when I decide I'm done making films, my retirement job will be to teach at a university. And I really want to help, especially people, women like myself who are later in life and you think you're too old, you think you can't do it.
Yes.
The devil is a lie.
That's right. That's right. Because on the other side of 40, it does get better in so
Yeah,
many ways. It
yeah.
does. Now, can you share a breakthrough moment in your career that shaped the direction of your media group?
Yeah, so when I started producing, I was still producing mostly true crime shows.
Okay.
So that was kind of the
The
full
back.
time introduction to my full-time career. I would do reality shows and love and hip hop and
Oh, I
radio.
was just gonna say, hold up. Which ones? Which
Yeah,
ones?
right. I mean, I've worked on Love and Hip Hop and Black Ink Crew and stuff like that. But
All the fun ones.
right, all the fun. Um, but the introduction to my full-time television career,
Mm.
producing career, really started with true crime. And I did several true crime shows. I won't say name those names. Well, I've done a ton of them. It doesn't matter. I can name them all, I guess. But several of them were on TV1. And
Oh.
they were about, which made them centered around Black stories.
Mm.
And so, I did For My Man, Fatal Attraction, Sins of the City, Payback, all these shows that were on a Black network designed for Black audiences, and were centering the telling of stories of Black people. And
Mm-hmm.
what I realized is that oftentimes we were the face and we were producing the show, but the higher ups at the production company, none of them looked like us. Like there were no people of color that were in real decision-making positions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I started to see how that would trickle down in the telling
The
of the
story.
story.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
And what I started to do was I started figuring out how I can make sure that I'm telling these stories more authentically. Make sure that, I'm on the outline saying, no, we're not saying this. No, we're not saying that. Nope, I'm not asking that question. No, this is not
Mm-hmm.
how, I started, and that really having that experience and going from show to show to show and seeing
Mm-hmm.
that in a lot of these production companies, there's very few people of color and
Right,
even women of color.
right.
However, we're telling these stories are being told.
Huh.
And that was the point in my career where at some point I realized, I said, you know what? It is important that we tell our stories,
Mm-hmm.
that these stories can be told through our lenses, through our cultural lens. And
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to create a production company and a group of people that, a creative collective that could come together and really help to tell these stories.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because so it's the lens isn't colored with
no.
how the higher ups in these production companies, like you said, want the stories because there's always it's always tainted. It's always kind of slighted in one way or the other. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, that takes a lot of integrity. It really does.
Thank
So
you.
yeah.
That was really my goal with starting Savvy Media Group, was hoping that I could bring together a diverse group of people. I know
Mm-hmm.
apparently diversity and inclusion is a dirty word now, but I wanted to I wanted to have a diverse group of people that could tell all types of stories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And tell them with cultural competency and compassion and sensitivity. If I'm going to produce a documentary that is centering people in the LGBT community, I want a producer and a writer and people from that community to
Telling how the
to tell that
story.
story. If I am telling a story about a Puerto Rican girl from New York, well, guess who needs to be producing that? You
A
know what I
Puerto
mean?
Rican
A
woman from
Puerto
New York.
Rican girl from New York. And
That's
even if
right.
she's not from New York, like if we're
It's,
going to talk about her
yep.
culture, guess what? I shouldn't be the one writing it. She should. So that way we are writing it and producing it from a culturally competent position.
Mm-hmm.
And I visited South Africa in March of 2024. And while I was there, I heard a saying that just literally blew my mind. I loved it, and I've co-opted since. It's called. They say nothing else about us without us, and I love it because that's what I feel like. All people of color and from diverse backgrounds really need.
I mean, most of the culture here in this country is built off of Black culture, period.
Yeah,
Period.
absolutely.
Anything that's dope. I mean,
Listen, anything with a little flavor, no raisins,
right.
is our. And so I just nothing. I just feel like if we're going to continue to, if these big companies, networks, streaming services are going to continue to benefit off of
Mhm.
our content, we need to be saying nothing else about us without us.
That's right. That's right.
So
Excellent. I mean, yeah.
that is the
You make
mission
somebody like,
statement.
yes, yes. Seriously. Because you said it perfectly. There's no better way to say it. It's true though.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with everything that's going on
Oh,
socially,
especially
politically.
with today's climate.
It's even more. I mean, like again, Left for Dead. I'm going to do a segue here with
Okay.
this documentary that you put together. I mean, I saw the trailer for it, and it wasn't like a don't. It's not about like people are looking for the democracy. It's like she said, no, where's the humanity? And it was
Hmm.
like so simple, but it
Hmm.
spoke volumes. So tell me, obviously I know the backstory. I see your passion. I see your sense of integrity and character. So I see why and how almost this came together. But really, what spurred it for you? Was it just finally you had just had enough after everything that we see going on out here with like Massey, with Sonia Massey, with Breonna Taylor, there's all of that. And then you see all these faces popping up constantly. I just saw somebody just yesterday, a woman I follow, her niece is 18 years old and she's missing. And she's
Yeah.
missing. It's just like it happens so often. And I saw that and then I saw your trailer and it was just so was there a pivotal moment is my point that you just said, you know what? I got to do this. I got to bring all of this to light.
So it's really interesting because it's one of those things that this situation is one of those things where I say, just the stars aligned, right? And that so I worked on a true crime episode
Mm-hmm.
and that was focused on sex trafficking
Mm-hmm.
and survivors of sex trafficking with a woman who, who did literally dedicates her has dedicated her life. Tony Rivera has dedicated her life to saving young girls that have gone missing and that have found themselves, in these tragic situations.
Because
Oh,
what's amazing quickly I have seen a lot of sex trafficking documentaries but I've never seen one for us. I have seen India, I have
mm-hmm.
seen other parts of Asia,
Yep.
never. So I am very just carry on. I'm sorry. I just had
Yeah,
to
no,
say
you're
that.
absolutely right. And that was
you
some of
know
the things that Tony Rivera, some of the things that have made her work so prolific and so impactful is the fact that she is literally looking for the missing Black girls that nobody's looking for.
and nobody cares about
Nobody cares about. She is actively not just looking, girlfriend is actively finding them and bringing these babies home, bringing these children home to their parents. And so she puts her life on the line to do it. And so learning more about her story, because anytime you're producing a story, you have to now go into this research mode, right? And
mm,
so learning more about her story and doing the research took me down this rabbit hole of like, oh my God, there's 40,000 missing Black girls that nobody's talking about, nobody knows it. Like, and we haven't heard about it. I mean, there are young girls, there are, white girls who this would be a national search. I mean, there
yes.
are stories about girls who have already been found, but we're still hearing their name. But these young girls have not been found. And so I kind of went down this rabbit hole. And that was one of those, and it became something that I was so interested in pursuing. And I really wanted to do my own show to cover this topic. And
Hmm.
one of the reasons why I really wanted to do it was because, they kind of say, well, only certain that, the only certain type of girls go missing. No, this is not true. Fast forward maybe a year
Mm.
after, it took about a year really between working on the episode where I was researching missing Black girls to being offered an opportunity to do Left for Dead.
Mm-hmm.
I got a phone call from some people that I had worked the same production company where we had done that episode,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the executives said like, "Hey, I know how much you care about this,
Mm-hmm.
and we're creating this documentary, and we want you to produce and direct it."
Was it that I don't mean to put you on the spot?
It's okay.
Was it that they just didn't want to do it?
No, I think
You know,
so this was one of those situations where it was two older white men who
mm-hmm.
ran this production company, and both of them said, "Look, we are not the people who need to be doing this." And
Right.
I had worked with them previously. They knew my quality of work, but also they knew my passion for the topic because I was working with them on that episode I told you about where we were finding out about
Mm-hmm.
all of these missing young women. And so it wasn't that they didn't want to do it. They genuinely felt like they needed to bring on.
Somebody that could tell the story better.
Yep, someone who could tell the story better. And I'm so thankful to them. I usually shout them out whenever possible for making that choice because to me, this is the most important project I've ever worked on.
Mm.
For me, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, no, it's pretty big. It's pretty
yeah,
important. So,
the documentary we're telling the story of two women
mm,
who went missing. I won't, give the end away and say how they went missing, but it took their families 10 plus years to get justice for the two of them. I will give that one spoiler. And in the course of that, we learn about the system itself,
mm,
right? How
mm.
law enforcement wasn't looking for them. And how law enforcement, even the prejudices that they have, like the
Yeah.
questions that they would ask the families, well, do you think maybe she just walked away from her
Or
life? They're this
drugs or just stupid stuff like that. I'm sure. I can imagine.
And they're saying this to the family members of people and that they weren't actively looking for them. And then, I had the privilege of
Mm,
interviewing Chanel Dickerson, who was at the time like over missing, had taken over missing persons in Washington, D.C. And her first order of business as a Black woman was one, noticing the racial disparities and
mm,
finding ways to make change.
mm.
And, she was saying that she noticed that not everybody got a missing persons flyer. And most of the people who didn't get missing persons flyers were Black and brown girls. And so her first order of business is nope, everybody gets a missing
I'm missing.
persons flyer.
That's right.
And so,
Cool. It's not even that. It's not that complicated. It's just the lack of care, like the lack of concern. I don't know. I just,
yeah, this documentary allowed me to tell the story of these two women, but also in the midst of telling the two story, we
mm,
learned about organizations like Black and Missing
mm,
and the work that they do to help families. We learn about, how, media coverage,
yeah.
there's disparities in media coverage. And we're walking the audience through these two cases while also walking them through all of the obstacles that these families had to even get justice for these two women. And to me, the most significant piece of this story,
Mm,
and I don't know if anybody else will notice it and care about it, but it's the director's angle. Like it was the angle that meant so much to me was it's very easy in our society for people to say, well, these things only happen, in the hood or to people who are from the ghetto, or if you are low income or impoverished or ignorant or uneducated, like and almost as if you're not
like
that.
you deserve it. Like you
Yeah,
just go, oh, well, it's not a big deal. They deserve
right.
it, or you know what I mean. It's a they take the humanness out of it.
Absolutely. And they act as if you're something different,
Mm,
if what is it, respectability politics?
mm,
You're educated and you have money and you're an affluent person of color, then those things won't happen to you. And these two stories, we chose these two stories
Hmm.
because these two women were completely opposite. You had
Right.
one who was from a lower income neighborhood, and you
Hmm.
had one who was very affluent. Hell, she was a government worker and had a college degree and was a manager and had property. She was lived in a nice neighborhood. Like she had
It's so disgusting how it's like you have to have all these things going on in order for it to matter.
to be equal,
Right.
to be equal. Yeah. But here's the thing. She had all those things,
And it's still.
and this woman didn't, and they were treated the same. So now what's your excuse? These
Mhm.
two women were from absolutely different walks of life, different parts of the city.
Night and day, but had one thing in common. Mm.
Their cases and their families were treated the same. And it's heartbreaking.
Mm.
And I want these two women, their stories deserve to be told, first and
Mhm.
foremost. But all of these young women who are missing deserve the basic human decency for law enforcement to take it seriously and for media to cover it.
Mhm.
And so my hope was that in creating this, that, we would all open the door for more conversation around it and
Mhm.
hopefully more people to go looking. We got to bring these babies home.
Yes. Yes. And you know what? You're bringing more awareness to the subject, as well as I'm sure there's going to be lots of resources where people can follow up or help or, you know, correct, I would assume. Or
Yes,
like what?
absolutely. And
Okay.
so
Yeah. At the end of
Black and Missing is an amazing organization that focuses on helping families who have loved ones that are missing find
mm,
their loved ones. And they will also help you get media attention if you don't have it, help you
mhm,
work with law enforcement so that you can put a fire under them so that they will, take more action in finding. So I encourage anyone who's going through this to reach out to Black and Missing.
okay. Now this is going to be on Tubi.
Yes,
Yes.
it's on Tubi.
Now, what was that collaboration like?
It's so interesting because Tubi is owned by Fox Network,
Mm,
which I recently learned Disney actually purchased most of Fox Network, which is
okay.
a little known fact. Um, but Tubi is governed or, run by the Fox Network.
Mhm.
And so I was really shocked.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Just
hold you.
Fox, you think,
I did. I thought, why would they care? And so
right?
everybody knows Tubi for their independent films,
Yeah.
right? We like to joke and crack on the Tubi
No,
independent.
but there are a lot of great documentaries on there.
Hmm.
Some of them are a little bit more raw than others, but you know what? You're still getting the information. It's still pretty interesting. So, Tubi's coming up and some other, and I had no idea that they were in business with Fox. I mean, that's just,
Yeah, they're owned by Fox.
that,
And so one of the things that have happened was, they had all these like bootleg independent films, but those bootleg independent films actually blew the network up. Like Tubi was not even supposed to be something that was profitable for them. Like they bought it as a tax write-off, which is why they didn't really care or invest anything in it.
you see though, well, who made it hot though?
Well, the term that they're using for it is a cultural that Tubi has become a cultural phenomenon. That's the phrase. I was like, wow, such an interesting phrase.
Everything is always culture. I can't, when you start really seeing in between the lines and the language,
Because you know what they're saying. You know
yeah,
what they're saying.
I know,
Well,
just
but here's the thing.
like
They made $97 million off of it. Off of the independent films. And so that's when they decided they needed to start making their own original content. So Tubi had the independent films, and then they also had all of the license, all the old movies that they licensed that you
mm-hmm,
can watch and old television shows. But they
mm-hmm.
made so much money off of the independent films. I mean, it was like about not don't I don't know if somebody quotes me. I believe it's 97 million. It's something in that ballpark if I don't have the number correct.
Right.
If I don't have the exact number correct, I know it's in that ballpark
Close.
somewhere. It's close. But they made a ton of money off of the independent films when COVID hit because people started, watching it. And
Mm-hmm,
so they decided to start making their own original content. And they learned at some point that their core audience or their fastest growing viewership was young, Black, African American, and women.
Mm-hmm.
And so they started creating some of their first original content that they wanted to create was content that would appeal to that demographic. And
Mm-hmm.
so they, commissioned a particular production company that, again, I had worked with the two gentlemen that were running that company and, previously. And so I did three documentaries for them. I did a Kobe Bryant, Gone Before
Okay.
His Time. I did that. I did a documentary called Sneaker Hustle, which I encourage
Oh,
everybody to
cool.
watch.
That sounds like something I definitely want to see.
Oh, that was such a fun documentary. I encourage everybody to watch it. And then this was the third and final doc that I had done with them. And again, it's original content. It's
Yeah.
owned by Fox. It was paid for and is owned by Fox Alternative. It just airs on Tubi.
So you've been doing documentaries.
Hmm.
Can we expect something like a television series or maybe like a three-part, you know what I mean? Kind of like
Hmm.
from you?
Yes. So I've actually done a little bit of everything in the unscripted. I've done reality TV,
Hmm.
docu-series, true crime, full feature length documentaries. I've done a little bit of all of it. But I am currently working on a series
Are
that
you really?
I am.
I didn't even know
We're
that.
still
That
in
was a shot in the dark.
I know we're still in negotiations on it, so I can't say too much. But again, once everything is signed and done, yeah, I'll come back to you for the
Come back
exclusive.
and talk to me.
Yes.
Come back and talk to Urban and Bigger.
Yes, yes,
Absolutely.
yes, absolutely. No, but I'm working on some projects that I think are going to be fun, that are going to be entertaining, but also educational.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, you are very ambitious, and I think that we need, women, we have been taking over every facet. And with everything that's going on right now, it's just, we can't lose steam on any of this,
No.
you know? So now we're going to go back to Savvy Media Group. Okay. So tell me a little bit about how you have like hand selected your group of people. What do you look for, for somebody that's starting their own media group?
Hmm.
How would you advise them on getting it started? Like, how did you handpick your people? How did you get organized?
Yeah. That's a really good question as well. So the first thing I would say is to figure out what lane you want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the biggest mistakes some people make is trying to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So being an unscripted is very different than being scripted. You know, doing a true crime show
Mm-hmm.
requires a different knowledge set than doing a reality show. They're not produced the same.
Right.
So for me, the first thing was really identifying what my lane was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I've done reality, I've done I've done docu-series, I've
Mm-hmm.
done feature length documentaries, I've done true crime, I've done all these different take these different unscripted types of shows. And so I realized that I really love documentaries, docu-series, and true crime the most. Right. So like I'm good at reality. I mean, I can do reality shows too.
That makes sense though, because you wanted to go into news, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So it's just like,
complete sense. Yeah, I see the
yeah, it's a creative angle to news to news, really. And so I know that I love those more. And while I've done reality TV and don't mind doing it, so hey, if you're trying to hire me for a reality show, don't hesitate to reach out. Um, but that's not necessarily like my favorite. So I said that to say when I started trying to create my own shows and my own ideas that I wanted to pitch, which is ultimately what everyone wants to do once you create a production company. I try to stay in my lane. Like these are
Mm,
the lanes that I feel like I am best suited at, and I feel like these are my bags. And so I started to pick people that find people, reach out to the people that I had worked with previously, and I liked their integrity because your integrity is the most important thing to me. In this business, this business attracts all kinds. I don't
yes.
know why the crazies come out in the entertainment, but it is in front of the camera and behind the camera. And so I really try to gravitate towards people that love what they do, but
Mhm.
also they are aware about how they do it.
Right.
Everybody's heard about the sleazy producer, right? That will trick you into saying something or take what you said in out of context and just chop up your words and make it sound bad. Like everybody
Yeah.
knows that. I don't, I personally believe in what I call ethical producing.
Mm, mhm,
And as I begin to pick people on my team, I pick ethical producers, like people that have shown that, hey, they want to tell a good story,
mhm,
but they also want to tell the story authentically, and that they are going to be compassionate about the people and considerate to the people
mhm.
whose story we are telling. And so those are key factors. Are you are you easy to work with? Are you the type
Yeah.
of person that's going to be yelling and screaming? Are you gonna Production is crazy. Production is hard, it's crazy, it's
How
nonstop.
long are these
Like,
hours? These hours are crazy too. I know that you work long, crazy hours, not sleeping,
yeah,
on
it's
the
nuts.
go.
It's nuts. Like it is absolutely there needs to be a reality show
For
about
you,
people yeah,
backstage.
for people who make TV because it's madness, it's absolutely madness. And so people that know how to handle, the pressure of
Yeah,
production without losing it
yeah.
is and that may seem like, well, doesn't everybody know?
Yeah, no, I can imagine that there's some people that just can't handle the stress, especially when you put in not sleeping. I know sometimes people, you guys just don't sleep. You guys
I mean,
just run it.
an average shoot day is 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah. And
Like
then if
that's a
there's editing involved, and if you get on that end, I mean, it's just you have to love it,
You have to love it. Absolutely.
you know.
So I don't know if that answered your question, but when I'm putting together
It does.
a team, it's usually people that I enjoy working with, people that I believe are absolutely talented.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you got to find you got to go ahead and accept that crazy person because they are the most talented. It just is what it is.
It
Um,
happens.
yeah, one of the best writers I know, like television writers, like he is crazy. I mean, he is literally the best of the best. He is
Yeah.
also batshit crazy. I love you. If you see this, you know who I'm talking about. Batshit crazy. But I
It's
love him
all
and I'm
love.
gonna
It's
hire
all
him. You know
love.
why? Because he's good.
Oh my goodness. You know what? How has social media helped your brand?
Oh, wow. That's a great question too. Let me just say this off beat real quick. I interview people for a living. Like that is my job, and you're a great interviewer.
Oh, thank you. You're gonna make me turn red. You know I'm
She's
all
being
hot
me
yellow
right
now.
now.
You're gonna make me turn red out here on this camera. Thank you, though. I appreciate that.
I hate being interviewed, but this is comfortable. Uh, so social media is such a unique tool because it can be your best friend and your biggest enemy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So Instagram give it and Instagram can take it away.
That's so true, especially
It,
crazy algorithm anymore too. I hate it.
Mhm. And so I've really been able to build my brand on social media, using social media outlets like Instagram, Facebook, and even LinkedIn. I've been accused of over self-promoting. However, it has
There's no such.
helped. I'm a freelancer, and so when you're a freelancer, self-promotion, it keeps you working,
Mhm.
honestly. And so it has definitely helped me build my brand. I would definitely suggest that everyone, utilize it as much as possible. I think the key part of it is trying to stay abreast on the changes, making sure
Mm-hmm.
that what you should post, but then also not depend use it, don't depend on it.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I think you have some people that become so dependent on it that if they lose their page or they lose followers or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it
It
should,
affects them emotionally.
Yeah. And I don't have a I don't have an emotional dependency on it. Like I post stuff for work. Very rarely do you see, every now and again you might see something personal, but it's
Right.
rare. Um, and I still network. Like I think I feel bad for this younger generation because I'm old enough to remember what like real networking looks like. Like,
Hmm.
reaching out, taking lunches, going for coffee, making phone
Hmm.
calls. And so that has been a great asset for me. Because if I lose my social media pages, I still have a Rolodex. I still have,
Hmm.
you know, people that I know and I've met up with. And I feel like a lot of times this younger generation, they rely completely on social
Social
media.
media. Yeah. And it's not that you're old enough, seasoned, seasoned enough.
I like that better. I am
Because
seasoned.
you and I are like the same age. That's why I'm like, hey, seasoned.
Seasoned. Let's go with that. I like that. And girl, you do not look 46. I
Oh,
would
thank you.
never.
Thank you. Thank you.
Huh.
My daddy helped me. He helped me out. I got a little bit.
Got them good genes. Got them good genes. But yeah, no, I think especially in today's climate, I
Mm,
really believe that people of color,
mm,
people in the LGBTQ plus community, I hope I got that right, plus communities,
yes.
um, people that are marginalized in
Mm,
in this country are going to have to really lean in on one, taking care of ourselves, but
hmm.
also taking care of each other for the next 4 years. And going back to old school networking, picking up the phone, calling, sending emails, sending messages, going to lunch. But like we are going to have to build community more
Yes.
now than ever.
Pharrell said something about that. Like, he was in an interview and he stated the same thing. Like, you know what? Now more than ever, we have built up our own economy, our own
Mhm.
businesses, you know? So now it's time to really pour into that and pour into each other. That's all we have anymore. We can't, you know, I mean, that's all we've ever had, right? Really.
Mhm.
So, I mean, DEI, whatever. We know who that was benefiting most of the time anyway. So,
Right.
so there's that. So you're right. You know, inclusion is important,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Agree.
and, I think that all the work that you're doing is absolutely amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I really hope that this film can be impactful, can shed light on
Hmm.
an epidemic because
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's a big
Yes.
issue. There are girls missing in every state of this country that are not being looked for. Women of color, Black and brown girls. And I really hope that hearing these two women's story and seeing seeing the roadblocks that their families had to face will help everybody choose to join the fight because we all can. Like you can, and we can all do little things,
Hmm.
just to be a part of the solution. And
Hmm.
I really hope that that's what comes of this.
Yes, I hope so too.
Yeah.
It has been a real pleasure talking
Likewise.
to you this evening. No, seriously. You know how some people say that to be nice? No, I'm
Yes.
because again, with the work that you're doing, it's so necessary. And I feel blessed to have had the opportunity to talk to you on my platform, right?
Awesome.
We got,
I feel honored to have been invited to your platform. This was probably one of the most comfortable interviews I've had.
oh, I'm glad. Thank you. It's a beautiful compliment. First of all, hold up. You got to give some shout outs. You got any shout outs before we go?
Oh my God, yes. Well, let me shout out Urban Magazine real quick. My boy Ben, just for always supporting me, always, putting me in an opportunity, giving me opportunities to tell my story. So shout out Ben, shout
Yeah.
out Angie Collins, and just everybody I've worked with, man. I have been very blessed to have worked with some of the most amazing people and
Mhm.
who are committed to doing the work. And yeah, I'm happy to be in this time and in this space.
Yes. Yes. And anyone that's watching, where can they find you? And how can
Uh, You can find me on Instagram at Sia Savvy, SIASAVVY. And you can also find me on my website, www.savvymediagrp.com.
All
Yes.
right, love. I'll let you go. Have a good evening. All right. And that concludes the bigger picture with Dakari. Everyone, have a good night.
Nice.
One.